Thanks so much, Peg. I really appreciate it. I love working here. I love coming here every month and helping with the series, and it's just been a great experience for me. This is a story I wrote for tonight, and it's called Lily Saves the World. On Monday morning, Lily mailed the Trans-America Pyramid postcard with the one about the dogs at the shelters. On Monday afternoon, Lily finally had to tell her exasperated, hard-working mother to fuck off, primarily about Lily's tendency to camp out in her storage locker with bad food, bad hygiene, and a bottle of bourbon, but also about the sudden appearance of what appeared to be an aurora above Alcatraz in the bay. Lily not quite yelled something about an aurora in California, while unprecedented, did not quite equate to the end of the world. And another thing, she would spend as much time in her archive as she needed. It was her life's work, after all. She didn't like to be so stern, but her mom did fuck off, leaving Lily a few days to sit in the storage locker, subsisting on Cliff Bars and raw kale chips that left her drained and farty. But it felt energizing to indulge the need to go over all she had written in that 2-month period during high school, when she found a courtship letter her father had given her mother about how dead the Aurora Borealis looked to him without her to share it with. On Tuesday morning, Lily rode to the post office to mail the Mission San Francisco de Asís postcard with the one about the women heading to work in tech offices, and also to drop off the last piece of her application to be one of the first civilians to go to Alcatraz to view the aurora up close. The whole application process pushed her into one of those phases where she took bike loads of old notebooks and previously read reference material from the locker downtown to her little rented room in the Presidio to make stacks so tall they slid onto her bed while she slept. She spent most of the time with astrophysics papers, dense with maths and charts she didn't understand, along with her own colored pencil drawings of her favorite astronomical words and equations drawn into the shapes of constellations. Words like perihelion and psi Ziggy, densely packed around formulas like force being equal to the grand gravitational constant multiplied by the product of the first and second body over the square of their distance. The rest was mostly science fiction paperbacks her father left her with the best passages already marked, so Lily could devour the same Heinlein McCaffrey would win that he did. Lily looked at the topics on the NASA website, picked half-polished ramblings to type up to 3/4 polish, and sent them off. When she had come to the part of the application on why she felt her particular skills merited inclusion in the first group of civilians to visit, Lily had simply typed, because Dr. Arroway wished they had sent a poet, in the space reserved for a 5,000-word pontification on her merits. On Tuesday night, Lily sat on the roof and smoked a cigarette and sipped a bitter beer with a cat she didn't know and watched the aurora wave to and fro like a seaweed in the current, picking up golds and reds on leading edges and blues and violets on the back edges. Watching its slow, lazy rhythm made her want to breathe in the same beats that made her forehead hot. Her mom sent her 6 texts, with missing words lost in the haze of exhaustion that had plagued her since she took on clients last summer. Her mom didn't need the money, just less time with her own thoughts. The texts read, "Seriously, honey, I just want what's best for you." Then, the aurora dangerous. Then, please consider wanting to come home for just a week. Then, you'll be away from storage locker, which is good. Then, I loved Golden Gate postcard with the one about foreign tourists misunderstanding the Palace of Fine Arts. And finally, love Mom, as if she had been the one to send the postcard. On Wednesday, first thing, Lily rode her bike from the Presidio all the way to Coal Valley, where her favorite rusted mailbox was eager to take the Ocean Beach postcard with the one about missing people in the waves. On Wednesday night, Lily watched the press conference, regretting her decision to make a joke of the application process when the NASA spokesman opened with a Carl Sagan quote about the voyage into the unknown. She hoped the man was not just a spokesman and had read her application and knew she wasn't mentioning the Dr. Arroway who was Jodie Foster, but the Dr. Arroway who was in the book. On Thursday morning, Lily flicked the Bay Bridge Eastern Span postcard with the one about the terrible responsibility of existing, off the roof down to the mail carrier so she could stay up there alone. She picked up her phone when it buzzed with an unknown number and was congratulated on being selected to be one of the first civilians to visit Alcatraz since the Aurora Spire had touched down. The no-nonsense woman on the phone told Lily the ferry would be leaving at 8 a.m. sharp the next day, reiterated that the Spire was not considered dangerous, but some first responders did experience nausea, minor physical injuries, psychological issues, hallucination, and heat stroke. She would be getting an email about where to go and what to and what not to bring. On Thursday afternoon, someone leaked the names of those who had been selected to the media, and Lily gave phone interviews to KGO, KTVU, NPR, CNN, MSNBC, and a few other acronyms. She tried to tell them about her education and how she dedicated herself to her craft, but they preferred to ask about how she was the only person going on the first trip who had actually seen the spire touch down at 3:33 a.m. 5 days ago. When it had happened, Lily was sharing a joint and a little bourbon with that cat stranger on the roof, watching the clouds yawn open to reveal a luminous tangle in the sky, reaching a long, thin hand down to Alcatraz. On the first interview with KGO, Lily talked about the smell of static crackles like from the dryer and the spinning shapes that had danced around her like crop circles in the night. "And you were smoking a joint at the time?" the interviewer asked. Lily felt his doubt and just said, "Well, yeah." The interviewer snickered and changed topics after that. So she ended up keeping to herself the image from that early morning of her little rooftop world, bathed in hot greenish light, tiny glowing motes drifting over her hands and notebooks and everything she had dragged up there. No one knew how the little points of light sped up as she watched, burrowing into her materials and tracing the word she had written just as the aurora touched down: refulgent. She liked the word refulgent because it was always pointed out as weird and unnecessary at workshops. It just meant very shiny, so she stuck it in as much as possible, hoping one day it might become normal and necessary. She loved refulgent, and apparently so did the spire, so much so that it burned the word into the roof with arcs that scared the cat away. On Thursday night, her phone buzzed while she was cutting pictures from old-time magazines. "Hi, Mom." "Oh, hi. So do you have anything you would like to tell me?" Mom sounded angry, like when she suspected Lily of doing something to hurt her on purpose, which Lily did only rarely. "No." Lily knew how stupid she sounded. "And?" A cannonball of a word. "And I was selected to be one of the first people to visit Alcatraz since the event." Lily started drooling words across the scrap of paper. Some of her mother went on there, some of herself, and a lot from the spire of the bay. "You're not going, are you? Into the very mouth of danger itself? Why didn't you even call me? How could you do this to me after all we've been through? How could you?" She wished for a way to get back in her magazines. The interior of her bedroom turned blue as a cloud of tiny, wispy, glowing motes swept through the wall and into the room. A furious fuzz burst out of her phone's speakers instead of her mom's voice. A mote lingered on Lily's page, and she could see it contained a universe of whirling fractal facets reflecting the piles of papers everywhere. She could see her hand reflected inside them at different instants, writing words now and moments ago. The cloud of motes made gaps and waves in her room, spelling out words and mirroring the diagram she was pasting together from the magazines. The fuzz faded and her mother's voice came back. "It was all I could do to get you through the drinking and the smoking, and I was so proud to see your book at Barnes & Noble, but now you're stuck in that storage locker half the time. And now this, Lily Rebecca Applebaum, I don't even know what your father would have said." The motes curled in her palm, showing her reflections of things she did in the past few days. They crackled and made her hand twitchy and warm. "Mom, I hate travel, but I need the world, and the aurora is the world right here." "Well, I pay you $2,000 a month to chase your dreams. If you can't so much as call me before you're burned alive in a magic lightning tower, I don't see why I should continue to invest." The motes danced on Lily's pasted pictures, sending up drafts of burning glue and scorched fibers as they dived in and out of the images. Lily tapped out a flame that rose up and the smoke twirled away. She tried to brush them off, but found it easier to distract them with designs and force them into pretty patterns. "Mom, you said you needed me to be the best daughter for Dad. You said I needed to pursue my art for his memory. I want to do this. I need to do this. Let me do this." Her mom was silent for a moment. "He would let you go. He would have been so jealous." Static took over the call again. Early Friday morning, Lily realized she would be boarding the ferry in just 4 hours. She figured out which notes to bring and settled on a light load. Just 2 books on ancient people's interpretations of auroras, another on plasma physics, a stack of printouts from prominent scientists with electromagnetic readings to the spire, several old full notebooks where she had written something or another about the nature of the unknown, and a few half-filled notebooks that she intended to fill a little bit more, should their subjects become appropriate. On Friday morning, Lily rode her bike to the ferry terminal, but stopped to mail the Chinatown Gates postcard with the one about fading beauty and ascending wisdom. After flashing her ID, 2 serious young men in gray suits escorted Lily through the throng blocking the Embarcadero to the ferry. She found a seat and let her thoughts feel free to be distracted by the science types filing in. Before long, the ferry pushed off. Fat sapphire orbs trailed by points of light drifted by out the window as they neared the island. Diaphanous tendrils touched the orbs to the waves in the boat in the air. Another passenger nearby yelped, "I got shocked! It shocked me! That hurt!" She sounded more offended than injured. The ferry docked. Lily wasn't one of the first off the boat. She just stood there and stared up from the front deck for a few minutes while everyone else wandered out onto the island. Clouds of twinkling lights gathered around her, wanting to see her words. So she opened up her notebooks and let them float all over, not even stopping them when they consumed an entire page, leaving a blackened leaf. It was delightful to watch them explore, until a whole notebook caught fire, and she slapped it against the deck to snuff the flame. The points of light were not amused, zapping her hands lightly and showing reflections of the book being opened in their depths. Lily heard another yelp like the one on the boat, but this one sounded more like an injury. The motes of light swam through her hands and swarmed up her arm, soon bursting through her chest in an aggressive blizzard. Each time they broke her skin, they delivered a little shock, a little zap. They showed her reflections of what they wanted and what they would do if they didn't get it. They showed her marvelous, terrible archive, soaked with obsession about all of the instants she had saved so carefully and then pressed together to create some sense of permanence reaching from her past to tie tight around herself. Possible yelling from the shore now, and the sound of panicked voices, along with a loud popping almost like gunshots, but random and varied. They showed her an image of her archive in flame, threatening to burn it, to consume it whole if she would not create for them. Desperate, Lily pulled out a notebook and started to write, with the motes spiraling around her and extrapolating her designs in the air far out into the sky. Deafening screaming from the shore now. Sound of heavy boots on the deck around her. Watching the points of light dance in the air, Lily wrote designs that they would have to abandon the shore to mirror. The screaming stopped, hopefully for a good reason, and she could see people being carried amidst billowing white smoke. The motes marched through her mind, seeking a way to force her to draw designs that would let them burn the world to understand it. They attacked her emotions. They showed her all of the storage lockers around hers, with the walls ripped out, and a legion of meth heads and pill poppers scribbling terrible and boring drug addict art in millions of notebooks. Her work in dusty piles full of pathetically worthless, inebriated ramblings about losing her father at a young age as if she were the only one with such insight into suffering. Images of Lily, delusionally thinking, "I'm Hemingway," as she sipped bourbon in the dark and empty pens. Images of Hemingway's ghost speaking his quote, "You're thinking of Faulkner. He does drink sometimes. I can tell right in the middle of a page when he's had his first one." A multitude of tells placed in the middle of all of her notebooks, showing where she had taken all of those drinks, trying to pay her efforts as years of drunken ranting. They were carrying the passengers back on board now, and Lily renewed her efforts, casting aside all notions other than she was here with her Sharpie right now. Her hands described great loops of language on the polished wood deck, designing ever more gaps in the buzzing clouds of light, sending the motes far out into the Pacific and high up into the Sierras. She fell into the process like she did in the storage locker. The motes could barely keep up, caught in mutual obsession. Trying to wrest back control, they scoured her life and found thousands of poem-filled postcards at her mother's modest New England home, plastered all over the walls around old pictures of smiling, happy people. She saw her mother walking alarmed through the house as the postcards crackled with the attention to the spire and its motes of light. One card began to smoke. She would not let them do this. Her design changed to expose her archive, her words vulnerable on paper, words about loss, about the past, about her parents, all ripe to burn. In a frenzy, they devoured her work, dancing and delighting in heat and light and uniqueness. She watched it all reflected in their depths. The ferry began to pull away from the dock, leaving limping stragglers behind. The motes were almost done with her archive, with all her work, and they would seek her family's postcards again. And after that, nothing would matter, but they would probably burn the rest of the world. The filamentary structure at the top of the spire reached down onto her planet, into her town, and into her. As the ferry picked up speed, Lily rode and rode, bending the motes back on the spire from where they came. With a boom of thunder that moved her clothes, the spire snapped back up into the sky, and cool wind blew in off the bay. The fever broke, and the day turned from a refulgent nightmare green to normal San Francisco gray. The surviving passengers were taking pictures of all she had written on the foredeck of the ferry. Every inch was covered in intricate script and geometric design. Lily felt light. She looked at the words on the deck. They weren't even hers. Her pen hand twitched and she pulled the San Francisco skyline postcard from her bag. Unadorned with words, it had been spared the conflagration. She sat down and started to write the one about Lily going to Alcatraz to save the world.